Football fans, the NFL draft is now over. Who is the favorite in every division? And Aaron Rodgers is officially with the Jets. What will it look like for him in year one in the Big Apple? We're discussing all of that and more on a Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. Let's roll.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Football fans, welcome into another edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. It is a Thursday edition with me, one of your hosts, Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans, and my co-host, Alex Clancy of Locked On Cardinals, breaking down the latest NFL news with you guys every Monday through Friday. Make sure you get subscribed and stay subscribed to the Locked On NFL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Of course, shout out to our everydayers tuning in Monday through Friday. And if you aren't an everydayer yet, then you gotta be one. That's all it comes down to, especially tomorrow, Friday's edition. Your boy Q, Chris Carter are going to be on the Locked On NFL show, breaking it down for you guys, so don't miss that. But moving forward here, we got a big show planned for you guys today. Now that the draft is over, who is the favorite in every division in the NFL? We are going to dive into that. Alex, I'm going to start with what may be the most controversial of them all. Who is the favorite in the NFC North?
You know
what your heart wants.
I know what my heart wants, and I know what my heart deserves, and I'm going to discuss this here in just a minute. For those that haven't listened to Locked On NFL for the last two, are we going on our third year? We're going on our third season? Good Lord. So. I'm a truther of two quarterbacks, one of whom is kind of dissipated into the ether, and Taylor Heineke no longer. The other is Jared Goff. And with Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, I said this at the beginning of 2 seasons ago. I'm like, it's Minnesota next, and then Detroit is right there. Now, depending on what happens with Chicago, they've been perennially losing organization for the last handful of years. And save a quadruple doink. I mean, maybe they could have, made a run a few years ago, but I think Detroit's lined up, and I trust Dan Campbell. And I never thought I'd say that, especially with the defense as putrid as it was last year, and with their draft being subpar and weird and clunky, losing Dave Sears in the offseason to the Arizona Cardinals, so the team I cover, like, things are a little bit clunkier, but they've got something magical going on in Detroit. And that's a sentence I never thought I'd say. But I would say Detroit is in line to potentially take over the NFC North come 2023.
Yeah, I think Detroit is the favorite. Look, I know that Minnesota is still good, and I know that Vikings fans are hearing this and rolling over. I get it. But I think even the Minnesota organization knows that was a bit fluky. Last year's 13-4, and they acted accordingly in the offseason. So with Minnesota taking a logical step back, just natural regression from the one-score games that they won last year, and Detroit getting better, and Aaron Rodgers leaving the division, I'm still not convinced that Chicago is anything to worry about. For me, yeah, it's going to be Detroit. I'm riding the wave. I'm riding the magic. I think they got something going there. They may have had some losses, but they kept Ben Johnson on offense, and to me, that's so critical. Putting in Jahmyr Gibbs instead of DeAndre Swift. Everybody was shocked when DeAndre Swift got moved. But if you watched Hard Knocks last year, they constantly were on DeAndre Swift to run hard or run tough or don't go out of bounds, don't bounce. So I really wasn't that surprised when they were like, yeah, we're going to replace him and get somebody new in here. But I think with what the Lions are doing, what they have done, how they're building, I think they're the favorite. But moving right along, I knew that was a good one. Mm-hmm. The next one that we got to debate here is the NFC South. And I'm telling you, I'm going to come out of the gate. I think the Panthers are the favorite. I like what they did this all season. I think Bryce Young might be the best quarterback in the division immediately. I'm not a big Derek Carr fan personally. I think he's rather milquetoast, and Bryce Young has a chance to be special. So they already had a really good set of talent on defense. I think they got a great coach in help me out, Frank Reich. And adding Bryce Young and the weapons that they did on offense with Adam Thielen. I mean, not that Thielen is some stud, but just combining with what all they have on offense, they had drafted Jonathan Mingo, who is my favorite wide receiver in the whole draft. I'm going with Carolina. I think Carolina should be the favorite in this division. I know that's a little controversial, but I don't care.
Who's the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL? Say it with me. DJ Moore. DJ Moore is no longer on that team, okay? I don't trust Bryce Young. I see Kyler Murray is double what Bryce Young is girth-wise. At least it seems like now. Bryce Young is one of the smartest quarterbacks to come out of the draft in a long time. He's one of the most elusive, especially for his size. And I'm never one to say, oh, he's too small to play quarterback. Not even close. I don't trust that setup this season. You know who I trust? Milquetoast. Is that what you called it? I trust somebody who actually has experience playing the quarterback position. And I trust an organization who perennially has an average to above average defense. Now it's going to look different because Marcus Davenport isn't there. Cam Johnson's a year older, but it's not. I trust the Saints. I just trust the Saints.
Right.
Like they have Alvin Kamara. They brought in Jamal Williams. They've got a run game. They drafted a running back also, right? It escapes me, but they drafted a running back also. I trust the Saints just because I'm taking what I've seen before, and what I've seen before is average Derek Carr, above average Saints defense. Bingo, bango. Ross Jackson wins the division.
That's fair, but personally, I think Frank Reich is a way better coach.
I don't doubt that. I do not disagree with that.
To me, makes a big difference. Well, real quickly, we'll go through the last two because they're a little less discussable,
sexy,
if that's a word. I'll throw that. Yeah, sexy is probably the better word. So in the NFC West, I think the favorite, you could maybe go with Seattle here, but I think the favorite is still San Francisco.
I think it's Seattle. And I think just what they've done, their offensive skill position players may be on paper the best in the NFL. Like, seriously. From running back depth to wide receiver depth, Geno Smith, his floor is higher than we thought. We don't know Brock Purdy's good yet. I'm sorry, 49ers fans. This is the most ludicrous thing on the planet. Right. So they're going to run the ball. Christian McCaffrey staying healthy for 17 weeks. I'll bet against that. So I'm taking Seattle.
All right. That's fair enough. The NFC East, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, Eagles.
Redskins. Commanders. Eagles. Eagles. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, not much to debate there. They have the best roster and they dominated the draft. So Philly remains king in the NFC East in our minds for the time being. But with that said, we're going to move forward to the AFC, talk about who should be the favorites there. And Alex and I made some bold predictions for the draft. We're going to quickly go over those because my boy Clancy was on fire. So we'll discuss that in just a minute. Before we get into it, want to tell you guys about the best tasting protein bars in the galaxy from our friends over at Built Bar. You get the best of both worlds with Built Bar. You get all the health benefits that you must have from a protein bar. They're low calorie, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, but you get all the taste benefits of a candy bar. Delicious flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, white chocolate cheesecake, and every bar is covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right. 100% real chocolate on your protein bar. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. So go to your local Sam's Club, go to your local Walmart, go to built.com and make sure that you get yourself a box of the best tasting protein bars ever. Built Bars. You can thank me later.
Locked on NFL Thursday. Tyler Rowland, Locked on Titans. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. We are Locked on NFL Thursday. Thank you for making Locked on NFL your first listen every day. Everydayers, again, tomorrow, your boy Q, Chris Carter, two of the smartest people we have on this platform that makes up for Tyler and my ineptitude. Those guys really bring it home every week. We'll be hitting the top stories across the NFL. Be sure to check them out. So we hit NFC projections the way too early. We love doing these, and we'll do these throughout, the off season, whether it be right before mini camp or, right into spring, right into, training camp, things like that. Hit the NFC, AFC here, Tyler. AFC's been a logjam for the last couple years. It's like it's so much better to be a team on the fringe of the playoffs in the NFC because you have a much better chance of getting in, even though, there's 7 teams. It seems to be very deep still in the AFC, but things are starting to shift. So let's start with home cooking for you, Tyler Owen. Let's rip this Band-Aid off real quick and go with the AFC South.
Well, listen, the AFC South is infinitely more exciting now with Stroud and Richardson and Levis adding into Trevor Lawrence. So you got young quarterbacks that can battle it out, 3 of them from the same draft class. That's going to create storylines that are infinitely discussable on TV and podcast and social media. So the AFC South, way more fun now after this draft. But new coach, rookie quarterback, Houston. New coach, rookie quarterback, who's a project quarterback, who I still think will play year 1 and be pretty good, but still a lot to learn in Indy. The Titans. Cool, they added Will Levis. But this team is still pretty far away from contending. Go look. If you want a laugh, well, if you're a Titans fan, if you want to get sick to your stomach, but if you're an NFL fan that just wants to get a good chuckle in the middle of your day or in your morning on your way to work or whenever you're listening to this, you want a good laugh? Go look at the Titans wide receiver depth chart right now. Just go ahead. Not while you're driving. Safety first, folks. But when you get a safe opportunity and you want a nice belly laugh, go look at the Titans wide receiver group. At the end of the day, it's Jacksonville. There's no question about it. They have the best quarterback. They're building something. They have a good coach who's won a Super Bowl. You could argue. I think Mike Vrabel is a fantastic coach, but I think he's slowly walking down the Bill O'Brien path, and he's trying to be too in control of the roster. And I think that mistakes are getting made. So Mike Vrabel may be a good coach. The Titans may have some talent, but Jacksonville is building on what they had last year. They're going to be even better. They have the best quarterback. They might have the best coach in the division. I'm going with Jacksonville until I'm proven otherwise.
When it comes to this division, just like the NFC South. I mean, the NFC South, the winner had 8 wins last year? I think Tennessee.
I think Jacksonville went 9-8.
No, I'm saying for the NFC South, we were talking about
yeah.
before. Same thing. AFC South, Jacksonville went 9-8. I think it's going to be kind of like that again this year. The AFC South has been one of the weirdest divisions. Like, there have been, the incestuous nature of the interdivisional rivalries with, it doesn't matter. It's Thursday night, it's Jacksonville, Tennessee. It doesn't matter what year it is. It's always going to be some sort of clunky, who knows who's going to win it. Now, is Trevor Lawrence shoulders and head above talent-wise everybody else in the division at quarterback? Probably, but we don't know. We have no idea. Yeah, on paper, absolutely. He took leaps last year. They made the playoffs. I'm not comparing him to the rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they had an adult in the room. Now, when it comes to Tennessee, maybe lining up Ryan Tannehill as natural position of wide receiver 2 will bolster that wide receiver group if Will Levis starts, but it's Jacksonville, and it's kind of just de facto. It's Jacksonville because it's Jacksonville. Because nobody else, there's so many uncertainties with Anthony Richardson and the other rookie quarterbacks. But yeah, I think it's Jacksonville right now. And then let's move.
Honestly,
good.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, honestly, I think at that point that the next division that is, these turned out to be a little more uncertain than I thought going into it. But one we can get out of the way pretty quick, at least, is the AFC West. I mean, 1, 2, 3, Chiefs. So I not much to talk about there, but the AFC East is interesting. I know that we have the Buffalo Bills, and that may be simple, but let me just ask you this. Any chance that with the Buffalo Bills kind of stumbling a little bit the last few years, and now you got Rodgers in the Big Apple, is there any chance that by the end of this offseason, we could view the Jets as the favorite in the AFC East? As the favorite, no. Until in week 18, they have the best record? No.
Right. That's because the thing is, now with Bill Belichick, who just throws a whole wrench into everything because he can win any game, any field, any talent. Your quarterback could throw the ball 3 times in Orchard Park and still win like they did against Buffalo a couple years back. The big test for Josh Allen is, can he do a whole season? Can he
Right.
not throw red zone interceptions? Can he not make people think Brian Daboll built him, and without Brian Daboll, he is regressing back to the turnover machine that he was? Exemplary talent. Eons better than he was when he was drafted, obviously. But
Yep.
I don't think that it's just like a surefire the Bills are going to win this division. If Tua is healthy for 17 weeks, let's say he's healthy. I know he's not the best quarterback. That offense is scary. So I still think it's the Bills.
Well, that's the question then. Who do
Yeah.
you think? Let's do it this way, since the Bills are the favorite. Who do you think should be the second favorite? Should it be Miami or should it be New York?
I think because of what we've seen from the Jets defense, putting Aaron Rodgers with that Jets defense, having Garrett Wilson his second year, Breece Hall hopefully coming back healthy, the offensive line hopefully healthy, Mekhi Becton could ever stay healthy. It'll be so much more fun if Aaron Rodgers is a villain in a new division in New York. It's just going to be fun. I don't think he should ever get success because he doesn't deserve it with the egomaniacal nature that he lives his life as it pertains to being a quarterback. But probably the Jets just because of Aaron Rodgers, I think, obviously. Now, as we transition, and real quick, the Chargers need to get an honorable mention for the NFC West. It's not 1, 2, 3 break. The Chargers.
It is.
No, I don't we just need to see, we need to see if Brandon Staley's the guy. This is the year. If they don't win again, and Brandon Staley could be looked at as,
they need to win a playoff game. They need to win a playoff game. That's what it comes down to. If they win a playoff game, I think Brandon Staley's fine. But the last division is the AFC North. And I know that it looks like it should be Cincinnati, but Lamar is back with the Ravens. That happened during the draft, and it kind of got swallowed up and spit out. You know what I mean? But they added Odell Beckham. They have Rashad Bateman. They added Zay Flowers in the draft. Finally, and there's some theory that they're bringing in DeAndre Hopkins too. Some people whispering that out there. So Baltimore finally giving Lamar the wide receivers that everyone's been begging for. Let's see if they can get it done. Is there any thought in your mind that Baltimore should be the favorite in the AFC North?
What I do know is it shouldn't be in Sharpie Cincinnati. That's all I know. That's kind of a cop-out answer. What about Cleveland?
Right.
They had a top 5 quarterback who played terribly last year, but before he had what he did off the field, the atrocities that he can now play football a full season for, they've got Nick Chubb. They've got a great offensive line. They've got Myles Garrett. They've got good corners. Their game translates in any weather. I talk about how important that is, especially down the stretch to win games.
In that division too.
Give me Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson for a full year. Amari Cooper's 29. Amari Cooper's still incredibly capable.
Yep.
The division games are must-watch TV all year. Even with the Steelers. The Steelers are improved. Listen, our defense needs to be a lot better. They just power drove that defense and offensive line to make Kenny Pickett's job easier. I have no idea. All I do know is that Cincinnati is not a surefire winner of the AFC North. That's all I know.
Yeah, and that was really my only point at the end of the day. The Ravens have gotten a lot better, and with Lamar back and no uncertainty there anymore, I just don't think that we should forget that the Ravens almost beat Cincinnati with Tyler Huntley. So I think that a fully stocked Ravens team could definitely give the Bengals some worries. But with that said, we're going to move forward. It's time for Alex's mystery segment of the week. I may have a little bit of an idea where he's going with it, but you can never really know exactly what Alex is going to throw your way, what pitch may be coming your way while you stand in the batter's box with Clancy on the mound. But we're going to dive into that in just a moment.
When it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Locked On NFL Thursday. I think that should be our little tagline within the tagline of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Tyler Rowland of Locked On Titans at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter. I am Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals at Clancy's Corner on Twitter. We're both podcast free and available wherever you get your podcast, every platform, and on YouTube. So one of the things that we witnessed last year was Aaron Rodgers and young receivers. It was Romeo Dobbs in the beginning because Christian Watson was out. Christian Watson came back. He almost won Rookie of the Year in 5 weeks of football with the amount of production he put up, especially from the touchdown department. And their offense was terrible last year with Green Bay, injuries or otherwise. One of the knocks that Aaron Rodgers put on his team that, remember, this is an ecosystem that he built because he took all the money and, that forced a lot of things to happen to put them in a situation where they had a bunch of young wide receivers. My question to you, Tyler, is moving over to Gang Green, moving over to the AFC East and seeing second-year wide receiver, second-year running back in Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, respectively. Will Aaron Rodgers be able to have more success with a guy who's played 17 more games than Christian Watson did when he started? Or is year one and year two receiver kind of grouped together? And the reason why I ask is it sounds like rudimentary to think about it this way. Garrett Wilson showed flashes and he was a ghost. He showed flashes of brilliance and he was a ghost. So the up and down nature of a rookie wide receiver, especially when teams start to scheme for them, that's out. He'll have a full off season as a second-year player, and he could emerge as one of the best receivers in the league. Is it going to make that big of a difference between Christian Watson and Garrett Wilson? Say, talent-wise, they're the same.
Well, I think one thing is there's like a threshold, I guess is what my mind is going to. There's like a line where if you've been a veteran for, let's say you're through your rookie contract, you've played 4 years, and a new quarterback comes in. It might just be, hey, I'm a veteran. I know what to do. I know where to be. We got to communicate a little bit, but we're getting on the same page. I've done this before. But I think with Garrett Wilson playing with a bunch of different quarterbacks last year, Mike White, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and being a rookie, I think that when we're talking about the connection between Rodgers and Wilson, that's basically a rookie connection, because Rodgers is new. Wilson may have played 1 year, but he's still essentially a young player with Rodgers. He's a rookie again, and they got to figure out what depth you want this route to be at. When you see this coverage with this route option, which one do you want to take? They got to go through all of those machinations and get it right. So to me, it's not much different than what Rodgers was dealing with Watson last year. So does it make a difference that Williams is a second-year player as opposed to a rookie? New offensive coordinator with the Jets, new quarterback in Rodgers. Wilson's still a young player. No, I don't think it's much different. They're essentially starting as if Garrett Wilson is a rookie, and him and Rodgers are going to have to get on the same page. But at the end of the day, I think Garrett Wilson is a supremely talented guy. I think they're going to figure out, and they're going to be pretty nasty together going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, Garrett Wilson he's just a different cat. He's a different wide receiver. He's not just an outside threat. Like some of the jukes that he made last year, were highlight reels. Like it was absolutely insane. I remember it was a second and long or third and long, and he had two like speed skater left to right moves where he juked two defenders out of their shoes. And I'm like, oh man, this dude is an absolute baller. And all that Aaron Rodgers wants is guys to get open and be able to catch the ball when they're open. And there were a lot of dropsies last year. Early on from the young wide receivers, and it's going to take some time. It's going to be clunky, but when they get streamlined and when they have a defense that's going to be able to get them back on the field, it's going to be a really, really good year, I think, for Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson next year.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And one thing that I do want to point out as well is that's why I think it's so important that when we talk about Rodgers having a list of players that he wanted the Jets to go and sign. Well, they just went out and signed Randall Cobb on Wednesday. I think bringing in Alan Lazard and bringing in Randall Cobb more than just having – I imagine Aaron Rodgers is like the king sitting back in his chair and like all those guys, Mercedes Lewis and Robert Tonyan and Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb. I know Tonyan went to Chicago, but all those dudes are just feeding Aaron Rodgers grapes. They're little cherubs with wings. Feeding, like that's what I imagine is Rodgers just – sitting in Green Bay, no throne on his head. He just had the cheese head on his head as a throne with all his little sidekicks, his henchmen feeding him grapes. But that's why I think more than just Rodgers wanting to feel comfortable and have his buddies with him who he felt comfortable with, now Rodgers has assistant managers who can teach the younger players on the Jets who haven't played with Rodgers before what he wants. Lazard can be in the receiver room with Garrett Wilson and be like, hey, man, I know you ran it to this depth, but Rodgers usually likes you here. And Randall Cobb can do that for McCole Hardman. You know what I mean? Like, I think that having those guys with Rodgers is more than just him feeling comfortable and having people he trusts. It's having those, his acolytes to push his message to other people when maybe he's not around. So I think it's twofold there with having those guys around. But with that being said, that is going to do it for a Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. Here with my co-host, Alex Clancy, at Clancy's Corner on Twitter. Locked On Cardinals Monday through Friday. I'm Tyler Rowland at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter. Locked On Titans Monday through Friday again tomorrow. We'll have a Friday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast with your boy Q and Chris Carter, bringing you all the latest in the National Football League. Don't miss it. That's going to do it for us today, though, folks. And hey, it's Thursday. Start your weekend early.